Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to find the right partner to trust. Now, whether this is in business or your personal life, there's always a saying that you shouldn't mix business with pleasure. But sometimes, let's say you're married or in a long-term relationship, it's kind of inevitable. But how do you know whom you can trust when times, of, well, either emergency or something occurs that you can actually count on them? So I'm going to give you a little story about something that happened in my life, which ended up showing me exactly if I could trust this person or not because of certain factors. Now, I was in a long-term relationship with someone, and they wanted me to teach them certain things, etc. And I said, look, we're going to be a team. I'm trying to develop and build a business. They said they wanted to build an empire, so on and so forth. But over time, they were normally saying certain things that would pretty much dictate that they did not want to do that. Whether they would say, why do I need to do this when I got you, etc.? Why do I got to do this, etc.? And I was trying to get them to understand certain things so that if I needed to step away from the business, they were able to run it without me being there. If you saw my last video as far as how Marines work, small unit tactics, we know the job above us, below us, and sometimes to the left or right of us. Just in case that person is no longer there, we can still keep moving forward. Now, granted, it was going to take some time because this person didn't have experience or a lot of experience in business, or, I didn't understand if they came from a militaristic background or not. Maybe, this person had some type of training or some type of YouTube videos that they followed or whatever. But in essence, there was a time where we ended up living in separate locations, and I told this person, I said, hey, I have a suitcase. In the military, it's called a jump bag, so on and so forth, etc. Normally you carry it with you all the time, but I wanted to test this person. And so I left my suitcase at their apartment. And I said, if I, ever come by and I need this suitcase, I don't care what's happening, I need to grab it and go. Well, long story short, this person got a little emotionally triggered. And, granted, they were probably doing something else, etc. They tried to say they were asleep, but when I was knocking on their door, their neighbor, who later on I found out, they probably had something with, came out and decided to step in my face and everything, not understanding, one, who I was, my background, etc., but he ran his mouth, so on and so forth. And it was very interesting because I didn't care what this person was doing or whatever, or who they were sleeping with at the time. I needed to get my jump bag, my suitcase, so on and so forth. And because of that failure, on top of all the other things that occurred, misunderstandings, loss in translation, lying, so on and so forth, and getting caught and then being a bad actor, and then of course flexing, so on and so forth, and trying to use other men later on as chess pieces on a chessboard, so on and so forth, it was already showing me that not only could I not trust this person in my business, but if they got emotionally distraught, they would normally end up putting the business or someone's life in danger. So this is where I had to part ways. Now, where does this go when it comes to you and your business? Well, if you're running a business and you have a partner, doesn't matter if it's a personal relationship or whatever, let's say it's two guys, best friends, so on and so forth. I don't care, and you shouldn't care either, whatever it is that they're doing, because if you have that commonality, that bond, that trust between each other, and you say, hey, if I ever come by and I say, etc., in my case with this person, there was a code word. If they ever needed to speak to me, they would text me the word Ruby. I would drop everything and I would go ahead and give them a call, say, hey, what's up, etc. Now, everything came out on my end to check out. However, when it was the other person's time to, be there, they weren't there. So if you're in business with somebody, whether that's your best friend, girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, make sure you have that understanding, because there's going to come times where you have to forget your feelings and understand the situation at hand, whether that's in business and you have competition now in the way. And most people will say, well, I'm not scared of competition. Great. up until another shark actually gets in the water and smells blood, and now you feel fear, right? When you feel that fear, you look for help, assistance, or if you saw a class, tools, resources, and supplies in order to assist you along the way in order for you to carry out such task and be successful. Now, when you are in business, in life, in search of freedom, you have to make sure that your circle is as tight as it can possibly be. Why? Because as they say, you're only as strong as the weakest link. And if you're not able to educate, train, so on and so forth, that weak link into something better, right? Because we don't leave anybody behind in the military. If you remember the story I told you of when my sister thought she could come to work out with us and she wanted to, so on and so forth, because she wanted to join the Marines. Well, we did a 1.5-mile run, normally known as an initial strength test, etc. And she started gassing out, and she's like, "You guys go ahead, I'll catch up later." And I was like, that's not how this works, right? We bring you along with us. Even if you are overweight, so on and so forth, we'll make you PT extra so you can keep up with the crew, so on and so forth, right? And eventually you fit in, right? Because there's a lot of lazy assholes out there that are willing to, slack off and let you pick up the heavy work and not do anything. You heard of Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, right? This is something taught in business. This is something taught in life. This is something, if you're playing basketball, right? You can't always rely on LeBron James or Allen Iverson or Michael Jordan in order to go ahead and always make all the points. You have other people on the field, right? So why not work as a cohesive unit and put your feelings aside so that you could win the game? Not only will this help you in the future, but this will make you stronger, more agile, and it doesn't matter when it comes to, either emergency situation, building your life, because if you're trying to truly achieve freedom and, bring people along with you to get that freedom for themselves, well then, might as well train them up, bring them out, so on and so forth, etc., as the song says, right? And, see what they got. But if they can't stand the tests, if they can't understand that this is an emergency, I have to get this done, so on and so forth. Maybe you're in a business negotiation, so on and so forth, and you have to say something to your partner without the other side knowing. If you're a lawyer or an attorney, there's always language that's used in a courtroom, and if you're watching this video, you can validate that, right? So be specific. I mean, even doctors understand this in the medical field because they know that sometimes people will come in and they'll say whatever they need to just to get drugs, right? Or to, get, push a scam across, right? Because there's a lot of scammers in the world, right? So there's different terminologies that they use in order to talk to one another, whether that's the nursing staff, other doctors, etc., in order to make sure that everybody's on the same page so that, everyone knows what's going on. Now, if you have a weak link, right, so on and so forth, as my story earlier, because this person got emotionally distraught. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they wanted to teach me a lesson. It's not really about me. What it is about is the fact that I needed to get my jump bag because I needed to head out, and this person failed. Why? Because they were emotionally distraught. They always wanted me to be there for them, but they couldn't be there for me. Now, if you are in business or you're in a relationship, how would you feel if everything was one-sided? You're always there for that person, but the other person isn't there for you. And they just stand there, look quiet, so on and so forth, because why? They took a vow of silence or secrecy or whatever the case may be when they're supposed to have your back and know better and probably have the knowledge that, everything is going on, so on and so forth. So think about that, right? Anyways, if you got anything out of this video, such as loyalty, trust, testing people to make sure that they deserve to even be in the circle that you're developing when it comes to building your life of freedom, go ahead and smash that like button and don't forget to follow me. And if you have any questions, don't forget to leave a comment. Till next time, my friends, take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.